YouTube kanalımıza hoş geldiniz. Learning English Through the News. Onur Doğan ve Ubeyda Hikto ile beraberiz bugün. Türkiye-Yunanistan ilişkilerini ele alacağız. 4-5 yıllık bir aradan sonra iki taraf istikşafi görüşmeler için bir araya gelecek. Onur abi, would you like to take it from here?
Evet arkadaşlar, merhabalar. Başlatmış olduğumuz bu inisiyatifte almış olduğumuz feedbackler neticesinde dersleri biraz daha Türkçe ağırlıklı olarak işlemeye veya anlatmaya çalışacağız. Bizim burada öncelikle amacımız gramere boğulup dili öğrenmekten ziyade güncel pratik olaylarla, haberlerle biraz daha işimize yarayacak İngilizce öğrenmeye çalışıyoruz. Bu kapsamda gündemi takip etmeye çalışıyoruz. 25 Ocak Türkiye-Yunanistan ilişkilerinde oldukça önemli bir tarih olarak gözüküyor. Çünkü 5 yıl önce sona eren istikşafi görüşmeler 25 Ocak'ta tekrar başlıyor. Bu kapsamda Ubeyda abi, sen de bir şeyler eklemek ister misin?
No. At this point, I was just trying to read the Turkish text before we saw the English text, but it's okay.
We already started, man, our session.
No, I know. I'm following your lead.
Okay.
You want to ask me something specific?
Yeah, would you like to add anything on our mission, learning English through the news?
Basically, what we're trying to do, and I want everybody to try and practice consciously while we're going through these exercises, is basically before you start trying to translate the information that you see in front of you, in terms of like actually writing down a sentence or translating a particular word, the first thing you want to do is to look at the original text and the original language. Right now we're working with Turkish, and understand all of it in Turkish, because everyone is assumingly going to be a native Turkish speaker. So you want to understand what's inside that text as a native Turkish speaker. The next step will be, before you even start writing anything down or typing, the next step will be to think about how you're going to transfer that information to native English, and to think about it in terms of a sentence or a speech or a kind of interaction that you would have. So this Turkish information, it says that Turkey and Greece have had these kinds of relations for I don't know how many years, and there's some other details involved with it. Try and think about it as a whole chunk of information, and think about it like, okay, I want to say this to an English speaker so that they understand what I'm trying to tell them.
Evet.
Very good point.
Belirtmiş olduğumuz gibi Türkiye ile Yunanistan arasında 5 yıldan sonra yeniden gerçekleşecek istikşafi görüşmelerde Ege sorunlarına her iki tarafın da kabul edeceği adil, kalıcı ve kapsamlı çözüm temelinin hazırlanması bekleniyor. Bu kapsamda İstanbul'da başlayacak olan görüşmelere Sedat Önal, Dışişleri Bakan Yardımcısı, yine de bir şey yapalım da ismi Sedat Önal'ın başkanlık etmesi öngörülüyordu. Yasin, bu kapsamda istersen hani bu cümleyi nasıl söyleyebiliriz mesela? Türkiye ile Yunanistan arasındaki istikşafi görüşmelerin 61. turu yarın İstanbul'da başlıyor.
İstikşafi görüşmeleri, what is the technical term in English for that? I think we have an example.
Coming up right now, it's exploratory talks.
Exploratory talks. So Turkey and Greece are engaging in their first exploratory talks in 5 years. That's the first piece of information, right?
Bu arada istikşafi görüşmeleri yanlış hatırlamıyorsam kullanan ilk Ahmet Davutoğlu. Hani 2000 kaçtı tam hatırlamıyorum da istikşafi görüşme hani daha önce Türk siyasi literatüründe çok fazla kullanılan bir kelime değildi.
But you use like exploratory talks, I think, and I might be assuming here, but I think it's common in the international relations.
Yeah, exploratory talks.
Of course.
İstikşafi eski Türkçe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because in Arabic you have this word istikşaf also, is exploring.
Aynen öyle. Yasin, dediğim gibi bu Türkiye ile Yunanistan arasındaki istikşafi görüşmelerin 61. turu yarın İstanbul'da başlıyor. Buradan başlayalım istersen. Bunu nasıl yaparız, çeviririz? Hani sen
Obeda
iki dilde
was
ana dil.
pretty accurate and spot on when he said exploratory talks between Turkey and Greece will continue on Monday. But of course, this is round number 61, so that would be an important item of information that we would throw in before. So it would be something along the lines of Turkey and Greece resume exploratory talks, throw in the 61st round. So Turkey and Greece continue their 61st round of exploratory talks after a 5-year wait.
Hiatus.
And on from there. Yes.
Can you show hiatus to our viewers? The word hiatus is a technical kind of word, but it works in this particular scenario, in this context. So Turkey and Greece resumed their 61st round of exploratory talks after a 5-year hiatus. Hiatus is basically a gap in time. I don't know what the equivalent is in Turkish, but you can show our viewers.
Of course. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Turkish equivalent to that would be something along the lines of ara, right?
H-I-A-T-S.
Hiatus. Along the lines of this right here.
Fasıla, boşluk, ara, eksiklik, aralık, açıklık. Yani
Yeah.
gap. It's kind of gap.
It's kind of like a pause,
Gap.
right?
Exactly. It's like a gap. It's like a gap, exactly, a hiatus. And you could use it in other sentences, right? Like I went on a 6-month, or I was missing for 6 months. Why were you missing for 6 months? I put my work on hiatus, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like putting things on pause. And given how Turkey and Greece relations have been over the last few years, it makes sense why those talks were put on hold. It also makes sense why these talks are continuing recently. So it's going to be interesting to see what the two sides will come out to say. Of course, it's too early to say anything.
Is it significant that they're doing them in Istanbul and not in Ankara?
Sorry, I couldn't get you.
Is it significant that they're doing the meetings or the exploratory talks in Istanbul instead of Ankara?
Yeah, there's no significance on it. Maybe it's because of economic crisis. It's closer.
I was thinking it's because Istanbul is a better city, but sure, we can say
everybody wants to see Istanbul, right?
Oh no, you're in Ankara. So would you have these talks in Ankara, or would you be okay with having them in Istanbul? What do you think?
Yeah, generally, the capital is Ankara, and because of that, we host the guests in Ankara. I mean, the presidents, the prime ministers, the foreign ministers. But I don't know why they choose Istanbul. And for example, these bilateral meetings between Turkey, Russia, France, and Germany took place in Istanbul as well. I think last year or 2 years ago.
Last year we did it.
Vahdettin Köşkü, Vahdettin Palace has importance, and bulunduğu mekan da çok güzel. Bu kapsamda hani İstanbul olması belli oranlarda özellikle Türkiye'de belli kesimler arasında bir mesaj olarak nitelendiriliyor ama bence öyle çok bir şey de yok. Bu arada ben şeyi soracağım. Should we use pause on the talks or reignite the meetings? Can we use reignite in this certain cases?
In my opinion, in this context, you wouldn't use the word reignite.
Because you wouldn't reignite something good necessarily, right? You'd be reigniting fuel to a flame, or a conflict, like tension between the two countries reignited old beef, right?
You wouldn't use it in the context of they're reigniting exploratory talks.
Anladım.
Re-engaging, maybe, yeah?
They've resumed. They've resumed the exploratory talks after a 5-year hiatus. The 61st round of Turkey-Greece talks will be held in Istanbul.
Yasin, ekrana bir yazabilir misin abi bunu? Turkey
Yeah.
and Greece resumed. Will resume, right?
Yeah,
Turkey and Greece will resume 61st exploratory talks in Istanbul.
61. tur means like 61st round, right?
Yeah. Can we use batch? 61st batch. Hani bu şeylerde birinci first batch of the vaccines will arrive in Ankara.
No, so a vaccine can come in batches, but meetings don't happen in batches.
Batch burada Yasin tam olarak hangi anlamı veriyor abi?
Ubeda made a good point. Like in the context of something like a vaccine where you're shipping something, right? It's a shipment, it's a batch, it's a bunch of stuff, right? It's a bunch of goods. But meetings, like you said, you would refer to as rounds because you have one round of meetings today. 6 months later, you have another round. So think of it like a boxing match, right? And boxing is all it's more than it's mental as it is physical, right? So you have these round of talks. Round one, let's just assume that tomorrow, Monday, is round one. This will be round one. And then a few months later, they have another round where they go again. And you win some, you lose some. So that's why it would be a lot more accurate to refer to them as rounds.
Batch, a good trick for batch, if you want to know when to use batch, is basically when it has anything to do with like food, especially food, or other items that you would give people, like how you say the same thing over and over again. This is the first batch. This is the second batch. One good way to remember is like when your mom bakes cookies or borek in the oven. Okay? So your mom puts the borek in the oven and she takes the tray out. That's the first batch. But she's going to put a second batch in when she puts the borek in the oven. Right? And then when the second batch finishes, then you have a third batch. So that's where batch works. It doesn't work for meetings.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
So cümle yapısı nasıl oluyor şimdi Yasin? Onu bir ekrana getirebilir miyiz?
Sorry?
Cümle yapısı nasıl oldu? Turkey and Greece resumes. Resume or resume?
Resume.
Resume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like this word in American English, at least, we make the Z sound instead of the S, so it's not resume, at least in American English. So, like, I don't know if the Brits say it a different way. You might ask if you have any British friends.
What about Canadians?
Canadians, I don't know. We have one here. Exploratory talks will resume between Turkey and Greece. Yeah.
Şimdi basic or basic?
Basic.
Basic.
Yeah.
Basic.
Yeah.
But abi biz Türkler, as Turks, we are always saying basic.
Basically, abi.
Yeah, basic.
The same thing with balsamic. Balsamico. You get me?
Yeah, these kinds of things, I think you're gonna get better at them as you keep using the English language, talking to people, having these kinds of discussions. Yeah, you can discover a lot of things, about the language. And if you brought somebody from England, for example, and asked them to come and speak English with you, you would just get a whole different set of results in terms of like pronunciations and the way they pronounce their letters.
So backtracking very, very, very briefly, when we refer to batch, the correct Turkish equivalent would be something like parti, right?
Parti for batch.
Yeah.
Aynen. Hani mesela Çin aşısının ikinci partisi yarın Ankara'ya gelecek.
Good
The
example.
second batch of the Chinese vaccine will arrive in Ankara tomorrow.
Good example.
Ya aslında biz burada ikinci tur aşılar için bunu da kullanabiliriz. İkinci tur aşılar yarın gelecek. Hani ama parti daha tabii ki.
Right.
Bu kapsamda biraz daha haberlere bakacak olursak mesela ne demişler? Türkiye ile Yunanistan arasında ilk keşif amaçlı görüşmeler 2002'de Ankara'da iki ülkenin Dışişleri Bakanlığı müsteşarları arasında yapıldı. Yani bunu mesela Türkiye ile Yunanistan arasında ilk keşif amaçlı görüşmeler 2002'de Ankara'da yapıldı. Nasıl söyleriz bunu? Şimdi mesela the first exploratory talks between Turkey and Greece took place in Ankara. Is this correct?
In what year? It also
In 2012.
Yeah, that's the correct way.
2002, yeah.
That's the correct way.
That was a very accurate way of putting it, yeah.
Hani arkadaşlar bu kapsamda şöyle bir avantajımız var. Bu derslere başlarken gazetecilerle birlikte hani hem yorum kabiliyeti getirebiliyoruz cümlelere hem kısa yoldan daha anlamlı bir şekilde çevirmemize yardımcı oluyorlar. Yasin bu ekranı tekrar bir getirebilirsek hani hem Türkçesini hem İngilizcesini Türkiye ve Yunanistan arasındaki ilk keşif amaçlı görüşmeler 2002'de Ankara'da yapıldı. Türkiye ve Yunanistan arasında ilk keşif amaçlı görüşmeler 2002'de Ankara'da yapıldı. Bunu çevirecek olursak the first exploratory talks. Can we say exploratory meeting?
I mean, the general thing is it's a meeting, right? It's a meeting between two sides.
Yeah.
But if you're referring like exploratory talks, it's a very specific use of terminology, especially with respect to.
Görüşmeleri, I think in Turkish, in this context, is more appropriate being translated as talks, exploratory talks. If you were saying something else about like görüşme, you could call it a meeting. But in this context, when you translate it, exploratory talks is more accurate.
Talks.
You could say exploratory meetings, but whoever was reading that or heard it would be like, I think they're confused. I think they should say exploratory talks. Yeah. Because what's happening at the meeting is there's talks, going on, exploratory discussions, exploratory talks.
Tam pronunciation nasıl abi bunun? Exploratory.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Exploratory.
You don't have to say it like me, exploratory. Exploratory.
Exploratory.
Mm-hmm. It comes from exploring.
Yeah, it's two words. It's explore and atory. Exploratory.
Explore.
Yeah.
The first round of exploratory talks between Turkey and Greece started in Ankara in 2002. Türkiye Yunanistan arasındaki ilk istikşafi görüşmeler 2002'de Ankara'da başladı.
Were held because look, you have to say were held because you can't say started because you're talking about one round and it ended, right? The first round was held. The first round it started in 2002, but it also ended sometime around there. So it's not like ongoing.
Right.
Şimdi started
it would
olması mı gerekiyor?
Sorry?
If we use started, the meetings has to be finished.
Not necessarily. I mean, started, it might be a poor choice of words, yeah. We could have just run with, they began in Ankara in 2002. When you say they began, you're not giving any time frame. You're not saying whether they were.
But I think you've specified the first round, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to say began or started, you would just have to start the sentence.
Yeah, the first round. Yeah. No, that's a good one. The first round
started in 2002.
I'm just updating this right here.
Yeah, this is most accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys can explain this, and you can do this sentence in a whole nother way, and it'll give the same meaning almost. You can say exploratory talks between Turkey and Greece started in Ankara in 2002. You're only taking out the detail about the first round, basically.
Right. It gives you that little bit of freedom to play around with.
Yeah.
But like Ubeda said, if you're referring to
if
you're referring to something a little bit more specific, like the first round that was held in 2002, Then again, this is something that it's done. It happened. It was held. It's done. Should we play our little video and maybe go into a little bit of critique or analysis, or just talk about what some of the expectations. I think we had something.
Let's see what words we can pull
Yeah,
out.
that'd be great.
I'm just going to run this video real quick.
Türkiye-Yunanistan ilişkileri açısından yarın İstanbul'da kritik bir toplantı var. Türk ve Yunan heyetleri 5 yıl aradan sonra istikşafi görüşme için yeniden bir araya geliyor. Heyetler Ege'de yaşanan sorunları ele alacak.
Türkiye ve Yunanistan heyetleri iki ülke arasındaki kronikleşen sorun başlıkları için yaklaşık 5 yıl aradan sonra yeniden istikşafi görüşmeler için bir araya gelecek. Kritik toplantının adresi İstanbul. Türkiye heyetinin başında Dışişleri Bakan Yardımcısı Sedat Önal olacak. Önal'ın yanı sıra istikşafi görüşmelere 2004'ten bu yana katılan ve halen Dışişleri Bakanlığı Siyasi İşler ve Denizcilik, Havacılık, Kudüs Genel Müdürlüğü görevini yürüten Büyükelçi Çağatay Erciyes'in de yer alması bekleniyor. Yunanistan heyetine ise diplomat Pavlos Apostolidis başkanlık edecek. Apostolidis 1984-1987 yılları arasında Yunanistan'ın Ankara Büyükelçiliğinde görev yapmıştı. İstikşafi görüşmeleri Ege'de yaşanan sorunlara her iki tarafın da kabul edebileceği adil, kalıcı ve kapsamlı çözüm için zemin hazırlamak amacıyla 12 Mart 2002'de Ankara'da başlanmıştı. İki ülkenin Dışişleri Bakanlarının müsteşarları arasında yürütülen görüşmelerin sonuncusu olan 60. tur 1 Mart 2016'da Atina'da yapılmıştı. Dönemin Yunanistan hükümeti tarafından askıya alınan görüşmeler bu tarihten sonra siyasi istişareler formatında devam etmiş ancak istikşafi çerçeveye dönmemişti. İstikşafi görüşmelerde Yunanistan ve Türkiye arasında uzun yıllardır devam eden kıta sahanlığı, adalar ve adaların statüsüyle hava sahası gibi konular ele alınacak.
So just quickly to summarize, what the video really explains is the history between these two countries, Turkey and Greece, and the history of these exploratory talks. They started in 2002. They led up until 2016, and since then, the two countries, they basically put a pause. That's where the word hiatus comes from. It's a shift. It's a pause on talks. So these exploratory talks, of course, didn't necessarily continue under the branding of exploratory talks, but the two sides, Athens and Ankara, they came together in different meetings, different settings to discuss certain elements of what was being discussed, exploratory talks, but there were a number of things that were being left out, such as the status of the islands. This whole debate between whether or not the nautical miles should be 6 miles or 12 miles. Similarly, Turkey has certain concerns over this if Greece decides to extend the word I'm looking for. If they decide to extend it to 12 miles, this puts Turkey in a difficult position. So what we're looking at is we're looking at a shift in policies. We're looking at a shift in Turkey's policies, but by the look of it, we're also looking at a shift in EU policies as well. Ubeda, on the back of this, what do you think the biggest shift in these policies are? And who do you think is going to mediate the talks between Athens and Ankara?
So I think the Turkish hand is much stronger than it has been in the last decade. Turkey has made a lot of advances in terms of military capacity, as well as financially and economically. Turkey is a much more robust country than it was, has many more connections with regional countries as well as Europe. There's also the advantage that Turkey has now in the sense that Turkey is going to be replacing or is a potential replacement for the business lost in the EU due to Brexit and the UK leaving the EU. So Turkey's hand is much stronger this time around. We've seen actually some diplomatic activity going on over the last several months regarding Turkey-Greece relations. Albania and Germany have also have been involved in trying to play this mediator role between Athens and Ankara. And I think it's been relatively successful. We've seen the tit for tat kind of politics between Turkey and Greece, with both countries announcing nav taxes and then canceling nav taxes, and the kind of rhetoric that we hear in the international arena. But now they've decided to resume these talks that were stopped or in hiatus for 5 years, and now they're going to resume them. It's going to be starting in Istanbul, so it's very significant that the Greeks are willing to come to Istanbul and sit down and speak with their Turkish counterparts. The European Union is also very interested in making sure that these talks go forward and lead to some results. I kind of agree with a lot of people who believe that these talks may not necessarily result in something immediately, but the fact that they're happening now after 5 years, and that these issues or many issues are going to be discussed, this is a start for something good to come in the near future. And I think that this is the best place to be right now for both Turkey and Greece, because Turkey has a very strong hand, but Turkey is also interested in doing things in many different locations. So Turkey is active on a lot of different fronts, politically, militarily, and so having the ability to bring your counterpart to the table and speak to each other peacefully and negotiate, this is definitely an advantage, and it requires small amounts of resources, and it's much more effective in trying to reach a political solution.
Mm-hmm. That is
important. It's important to note that Turkey made its last invitation for these exploratory talks on the 11th of January, and the timing is really remarkable, because in a short time, EU leaders will pay an official visit to Turkey to meet Turkish President Erdogan, and it's really a crucial visit because in 2020 was the year of the sanctions, both from EU and the United States of America. And it's really important because in this year, in 2021, will be the year for the dialogue. Turkey was always invite all the sides to be on the table, to sit down and discuss the countries, their problems, and keep the diplomacy channels open. The timing, as I said, is really crucial. And I don't expect any short-time solution to this problem, because Turkey and Greece leaders are driven by the public opinion. And if they take a step back, this will be accepted as a failure in their domestic politics. So the EU will come to this problem, and Turkey was always calling the sides to hold a Mediterranean platform, a conference including Northern Cyprus. And if this happens, Turkey's actual red line is Northern Cyprus. They want Northern Cyprus to be take part in all the process. So if EU and Greece accept this fair desire, the problems will be solved in this year, inshallah.
Mm-hmm. And just very briefly, so we're looking at a number of shifting policies. I believe it would be unfair if we leave out the United States in all of this. So whoever would like to pick up on this, what do we believe the effect of the U.S. elections have been on these shifting policies in the Middle East, North Africa, and even Southeast Europe region?
I think after Trump's presidency, these talks are coming basically as kind of a change of weather for the European community, as well as the rest of the region, the Mediterranean region, even the Middle East. Trump was kind of unpredictable, but now it seems like Biden, even though he might be a little bit hard to read at the beginning, I think these countries are using this transition time to their advantage to try and get ahead of the game, ahead of Joe Biden, and try and basically reach some kind of position where they can tell America, look, we don't need you to get involved. We've already solved our own problems. And I think that everyone is trying to reach that point because Trump really left kind of like that sour taste in everybody's mouths about America's role in the world and in European politics and Middle East politics. So people are trying to basically get ahead of the game. And I think that's why these talks are happening now, or at least one of the reasons why these talks are happening now. I don't think Joe Biden is going to do anything too dramatic. I think he's going to be like this lame duck president, one term, and he's out of there. So countries are going to use these 4 years to try and realign their positions and to gain an advantage in any other kind of scenario that might develop after Joe Biden.
Yeah, that seems to make sense. One of the president's first actions in office was to actually rejoin the World Health Organization, the Paris Climate Agreement, and a number of other things that the U.S. actually kind of just walked away from. So it makes sense.
I think Trump walked away from them, not the U.S.
Sorry?
I think Trump walked away from them, not the U.S.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, if you want to get technical about it, yeah, we can get technical about it. But, man, he was president of the United States. He represented the U.S. And whether we like it or not, that was the case. But yeah, generally, just to summarize everything that we've been going over, the two sides of this conflict, Athens and Ankara, have been hoping for some form of solution. Turkey has been a lot more vocal about sitting down and finding a diplomatic solution than their counterpart, than their neighbor. But it's going to be interesting to see how these two countries come together. Of course, we are going to be looking at a number of EU nations, maybe the European Union, as Ulrich said or mentioned earlier, that maybe the European Parliament will play a more crucial role to ensure that both sides get a fair, acceptable, long-lasting, permanent solution to all of this that's going on. And it's been a hassle on us as well. We've been following this quite a bit. You know, we've been going on those ships. We've been in the Mediterranean. I spent a couple weeks on separate warships, and for someone who's 6'2", 188 centimeters. For those who don't know the U.S. system, for someone who's 6'2", you know, warships aren't a comfortable place. I remember hitting my head quite a bit. So I hope
Sahil
these.
güvenlik botuna çıkmış mıydın hiç?
Sorry.
Sahil güvenlik botuna çıkmış mıydın? Hani bu mültecilerin geri gönderilmesine ilişkin haberleri.
Yok, hayır. TCG Barbaros, TCG Gelibolu'ydu sanırım.
Fatih'e çıktın sanırım. Fatih'e biz de çıktık. Fatih.
Yeah, you guys have been following this as well. You guys have been on those exploratory ships, those drilling ships.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting. We've been following all of this on location. For quite some time.
Abi Ubeyd abi görüyorsun değil mi? Yasin gemiye gidiyor, sen Şırnak'a gidiyorsun.
Ben yarın
Hey man, we've all been there.
Ben yarın göstereceğim nereye gideceğim, nasıl gideceğim.
I mean, it makes sense, bro. You would be a better fit, bro. You'd fit right into those little bunkers or those little bed things that they call beds.
Abi Şırnak seviyorum ben ya.
Yeah? You're gonna have
Tamam
a
abi,
very busy day.
Şırnak'ta kal, Ukrayna'ya başkasıyla gidelim biz.
Yok, o kadar değil.
All right. I mean, if we're done, yeah, it's 2021 is going to be interesting. Hopefully, better than 2020.
Yeah.
2018.
Hopefully it's better than 1999. That's what I have to say. Y2K.
İnşallah 2021'de korona da biter, her şey biter, her şey yolumuz açık.
Korona biter olur ama her şey biter olmaz.
It's true.
Abi in Turkish we are using her şey biter. Hani all the bad things are will be gone.
İnşallah ya.
Will be gone hani.
Will be over.
Hani will begun bu şey olmasın. Tekrar başlıyor anlamında.
I mean, open.
Nasıl? Anlayamadım.
All right, I guess we ran out of things to say, huh?
Seni seviyorum.
O zaman ne diyoruz Ubeyde?
Please join our learning English through the news channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. Share with your friends. And keep following us for more content. We're going to try and keep bringing you this kind of content and other great content. We have some new things in the works. So thank you for your subscription. And until next time. Görüşürüz.
Görüşürüz.